I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Public comments for items not on the agenda.
Gary Hall. I've been watching a lot of people go down to the dump down there, and I think you need to remove that sign that's down there that says dumping, because that's why everybody's going, because it doesn't say no dumping, and that sign says but you're not supposed to dump.
And then people have been coming down there and just dumping, and then when I go and tell them not to dump down there, they watch me drive away and they go back, I swear to God.
But I think if you pull that sign up, it would really help.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
thank
pull
you.
that stop sign.
Yeah, let's pull it out.
I put fence.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a few comments, questions, whatever. Elton Kirtley, from across the railroad here. I would really like to know why that double wide was moved in without a zoning permit. I would also like to know why this town is advertised for free camping at the parks in travel information. And I would really like to know why, after all this time, some of this money couldn't have been used to trim those dangerous trees, which are getting pretty bad. 3rd Avenue and at the park down here. It's going to get dangerous, and it's a liability. It shouldn't just be, thrown down the road for somebody else. It is serious business. I think all of these items are very important, and probably a number of illegal things going on at the same time. That's not good.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes,
Have anything?
sir, I do. I had to do
Tell
this
us
so
who you
I
are,
don't
please.
swear or do anything wrong. Marge Taylor. I would like to apologize for laughing when Marcus stated that he had to wait for approval from the mayor to finish to complete a project. Marcus was right in saying that this was not professional. However, I feel that as a member of the community, that if you are asking us as citizens to behave appropriately and in good conduct, the same should be expected of you, of the employees of this town. After Marcus rightly corrected me at my behavior at the meeting, later followed up with dropping the F-bomb in the meeting. This is a double standard, not just for the citizens of this town, but this administration. Not only has obscene language been used in prior meetings by both citizens and employees, one council member has made derogatory comments and actions repeatedly under their breath during meetings. This is a blatant disrespect for those who speak as well as for those council members who are trying to do right. Also, this is really my biggest concern. I also find it concerning that on January 24th meeting, Councilman Hasman and Mayor Tim Nottingham in this very room were overheard having conversation regarding how to vote on projects after the meeting was adjourned. Mayor Nottingham was overheard stating to Council Hasman, "We have to get rid of the 2 new council members. You, Hausman, and Nate will vote, and if it's a tie, I will break it." The fact that this discussion was even allowed to take place following the meeting is a disgrace to this town and reaffirms the belief that our mayor and other individuals in this town belief civil duty are not doing their civil duty to our community, and makes it so that new members on the council are at odds with prior elected officials. If our town continues to operate under moral compass of our mayor has set forward, I worry that we will not have a town to stand for. I'm asking that as individuals of the community, that you work for the public and you work for this town and not the good old boys and the good old friends. Please and thank you. That would gain the whole town respect.
Exactly.
Thank you, Marge.
Thank you for your input.
Any other comments?
I would like to apologize if I curse. I curse a lot, and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's from working in construction and my whole life.
That's okay.
So I am
I've used
sorry.
that same word. So
I'm-
that isn't it, but you
I am
scolded
sorry.
me, so-
You're right, I did, and I have to
Okay.
apologize for that. If I cuss, I'm sorry.
Any other comment?
Do you go to church?
No. Probably should.
Do we have any other comments? Next, mayor council. This is a time when the mayor and/or the council members can bring up concerns before the council that is not otherwise listed on the agenda. No action can be taken at this time. If action is necessary, the item may be put on the next meeting agenda. Do we have anything to discuss?
Yes, I'm glad Elton brought it up. We do not have an ordinance, and we need an ordinance for no camping in the ballpark. And because earlier this year, there was a guy down there that set up a tent and stuff, and it makes me very nervous with children. We have talked about this, but we have to have that down there. The other thing is I believe we need an ordinance for the city park. I don't mind people, and I don't know how you guys feel, I don't mind people showing up for a night and camping there. We had those people that were traveling across America. We've had a veteran that showed up traveling across America. I don't mind somebody, you know, doing a tent one night or camping with a camper one night, but we've had the other deals with the guy from Billings who is now homeless and is going to park underneath the awning and set up a whole household before. I mean, we have to address this. We've kicked these cans down the road. Camping is one of them. The other one is fireworks. We have had people that we have ladies show up, and I mean, I understand we have ordinances, and nobody's going to be, I have stated this before. I mean, I think we need a work meeting on the fireworks and a public hearing to kind of come up with some ideas ahead of time, but we owe it to the citizens to come up with a plan. As I told them, I am Switzerland. I come from Cody, Wyoming, where we had fireworks. But I also understand we have to come to a compromise, guys, and we can't keep kicking this can down the road. And it's not fair to our sheriff's department to address 30-some calls during the 4th of July because we're lazy and we don't want to put forth an ordinance.
I don't think it's the 4th of July that people are concerned
It's
about.
the other
I
day.
think it's the
Yeah.
1st, the
Yeah.
30th, the
Yeah.
18th, yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's what I would like to see. I would like to see that, and then the trees. I mean, I brought up the trees last year. I spent time telling you which trees you needed to take out of the park, which ones you had to remove. Elton brought it up 6 months later. You have got some, I'll tell you what, the right branch, the right tree fall on a kid, you're going to be
We
paying.
just had the trees trimmed 2 years ago. And is that something we need to put in the budget for yearly? To have somebody come and...
You have a tree that is huge that needs to come, you have 2 of them that need to come out of there. Point blank period. They need to come out of there. We're not talking trimming them. They have to come out of there.
Yeah.
There's one for sure that, I mean, it's
The-
over half the tree
Yeah.
is dead.
Is it?
Yeah.
From, and it's like 30 feet up. It's
Yeah.
splits, and then
It's the
yeah.
center tree.
Is there power lines around in there?
And
No.
No,
'Cause
that
otherwise
one's
we get
good.
Northwest to do it
Well,
for free.
does the county still have their truck?
That's a possibility.
Because we used the bucket truck before to trim those trees down.
How high does their bucket truck get?
It was quite high,
Was it?
higher than I'm comfortable in, but
I mean, that one.
But if you do it right and stuff like that, you can go out there, you can trim those branches down and the bigger branches, as long as you got it out of the way where you can let it fall down. Or you're not trying to take a huge chunk down.
Well, if we
That
can-
bucket truck goes out. They did have a bucket truck that the town, we were able to do that for.
Well, you can also use the bucket, it's depending on, as a crane, because there's that one, it's halfway up that tree, it's gotta be about that big around, and it's gonna be like a 30-foot branch that's gotta come down
You
out of
might
it.
have to go all the way out, further out, and just trough it and let it go or whatever.
Then we're getting close.
So we need to,
You can get Northwest to take the other tree out that has a power line going through it. It's a small tree.
Yeah, I know which one you're
It
talking
I'm
about.
just saying as an option,
needs
you
to
can
come
check
out.
it.
Northwest will
I
take
know
that
the
tree
town
out.
has our
Okay.
trash, 'cause we've used it before.
Okay.
we're,
No,
Bridget,
that county,
Oh,
yeah.
the county.
The county had a bucket
I'll
truck.
call
we
about
used
that.
it before.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, if we can do that and get, cause yes, when it
No,
gets
that'd be,
windy, that,
that'd be good.
Just as an option.
mhm. I like that.
No,
The only,
Marcus will get on that.
the only other thing I'm gonna ask for is if Marcus's number can be put on the web page. I had an incident last year where a power line went down next to the park. I'm calling up here, somebody was not answering their phone because I don't have your number,
Mhm.
trying to get a hold of, I've already called the sheriff's department, but trying to get a hold of somebody to put out markers because there's a power line down laying in the middle of the street. And half the people, you run on cell phones and stuff. If you call up here, there's not a Marcus's number is or whatever.
Yeah.
And if we're in an emergency situation, you know, and there I was that day in an emergency situation. There's a power line laying down on the road, and I'm just a citizen, and I can't get a hold of anybody.
Well, and in the sheriff's office, most likely would notify Code Red.
They
So that they
came
put
and
that
did
out.
their deal, but the deal is you need markers out on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus is the one that has cones or whatever he can get out on the street, and
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure that would've came across the fire call, so,
It should have.
Should have.
it
But,
did come across the fire call.
okay, so that, I would get that call now.
Well, back then you didn't, but
No.
here's the
Yeah.
deal,
Yeah.
you know, if somebody, but even if somebody has a broken water line,
Yeah, that's true.
there's no number.
Yeah, we need to get that number
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
put somewhere, so.
I answer that phone no matter who calls, and some of them are
Okay.
very interesting calls.
We'll have the clerk then add your work number to that list. In case of emergencies, that way they can get a hold of you.
Yeah?
That work? Okay.
What about the trailer house on the street?
That, everything's been turned into the attorney's working on it.
That trailer house on the street, you're kind of in a dilemma there on the Perkins Alley.
On what?
The Perkins Alley. You gave a city alley to James Perkins. That guy should have the same exact right.
I'm gonna look into it, and then I'll figure out where it's parked and if it's parked on city land.
Oh, it's on city,
It is.
it's 6
It-
foot into the
Yeah.
street.
And so I'm gonna provide a letter. I finished most of it, a
We've
rough
already,
draft.
we've already measured it.
Yeah.
That trailer is 18 foot wide. 9 of it is in the city property.
Yeah, and that's a problem. So I've already drafted a
And if
letter.
he moves it away, he moves it too close to that blue one, and according to the state fire marshal, you have to be 6 foot apart. It won't be.
That's correct.
Well, and then.
According to state fire marshal, you gotta be 20 feet apart on trailers.
They're not gonna be.
6 foot,
There's not a way.
according
Yeah.
to our ordinances.
Yeah, but according to our ordinances, in order to set that trailer on there, you have to have a 40-foot by 100-foot lot.
Yeah, and he
And-
ain't got
No,
it,
he doesn't.
Which he
He
doesn't.
does not.
which he doesn't.
And just to let you guys know, I didn't know there was a trailer coming in. Marcus didn't know. All of a sudden, on
Tell
a
them.
Saturday, this guy pulls the trailer in. And Marcus calls me. I go down there and talk to him and say, hey, you gotta stop what you're doing.
Mhm.
And then I went back the next day, and not only did he not stop, he took the axles, wheels, and blocked it up.
Like he was gonna leave
So,
it.
He did leave.
from my opinion,
Well, like,
then,
yeah.
then we just turn everything over to the attorney to do something about it, because there's some pretty serious things that
You're
you could-
still in legal jeopardy over the Perkins alley. You gave him a city alley. He has the same right for that same piece of property, which would put him within his limits.
And once again, this is not a public comment period.
Okay.
This is the,
No, yeah, this is just strictly with the
Yeah.
mayor council.
that is correct.
Okay,
So,
that's fine on that one. I would also like to know who gave the key and permission for the cement to be dumped down in the lagoons?
I did. And I'd like to thank whoever it was anonymously called DEQ and complained that it was put in there. We got actually several issues addressed, taken care of, because they don't have an issue with putting the chunks of concrete down there, because what we're using them for is we're putting them in that soft material so that we can actually drive down there and have some kind of a base that we can drive on. Because that bottom of the lagoon is really mucky. And if you've ever taken stuff down there when we had the burn pit down there, you get close and you were stuck. So we're trying to get that.
Okay, so then how does this work with the floodplain permit?
On that
With
map
flood.
right there, you can see where that dog leg on that lagoon, where it dog legs down and necks down. That is actually that is almost right at where the floodplain is. So this side of that, we're okay. Anything from that dog leg south, we're actually out of.
We're in the,
part-
Or
the
the-
we're in
500.
the 100-year floodplain
I guess,
on the bottom half of that lagoon. The other lagoon is entirely in that.
Yeah, that other
And I
one we
talked to
can't mess with.
Shahila about it, and she says, if we want to use a complete
Yeah.
thing down there, we got to fill out a permit.
that was the question. I guess my question for you is for you, Mr. Attorney. What is the purpose of our council?
Well, that's an easy question.
Okay.
So the city council sets a 1,000-foot view. 1,000-foot view of all that happens within the city. Usually, city council always acts through ordinances and resolutions. The mayor's job is to enact and actually carry out forward those ordinances and those resolutions. There is an issue because there is slight overlap between those two positions. So sometimes there's a slight overlap between what the mayor can do and what the city council can do. But there is not a lot of overlap. There's different jobs between the two. An easy answer is, for example, city staff. The city council makes the rules on how the city staff should operate through policies and procedures. Sorry, Mark's right in the way.
Oh, sorry.
So I
Yeah.
keep moving back and forth. So the city staff is a great example. The city council makes the rules through policies and procedures, and then the mayor is the one who actually oversees the operation of those rules and procedures.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm getting at is,
Yeah.
here again, is decisions are made without council approval, without council knowledge, and then yet my phone goes off the hook because they see these trucks going down there hauling cement, and they want to know what can we haul all our garbage down there now? You're allowing cement. That's the purpose I'm saying. I mean, if this is what's going to happen, then let him run the thing, and I'll go home.
No, and once again, there's a big difference. Like, the mayor absolutely does not have the authority at all to make 1,000-foot decisions concerning the city. Ordinances, resolutions, he cannot make those decisions. Usually what happens is that he is enacting and carrying forward the operation of ordinances and resolutions that have already been made. So sometimes you'll find a situation where there is not an ordinance or a resolution in place, and so the mayor can make decisions in that vacuum or that void. However, that means the city council can always step in and say, there's a hole here, we don't like what the mayor did. If you don't, maybe you do like what the mayor did, but say you don't like what the mayor did, you can always say, we need to make a resolution so that this doesn't happen again. And the city council always has that authority. The mayor cannot go against what an ordinance or a resolution says. And so, for example, dumping of concrete, dumping of waste, or any type of waste product or material, the city council absolutely can always make an ordinance or a resolution, depending on what it is, to say this is not the way it should happen again in the future. If you want.
And just for clarification, it wasn't just some willy-nilly guy doing it. I mean, he
I know
called,
where it came from.
asked me about it.
I
We
know
discussed
exactly where it came
how
from, just trust me, people follow it back and forth. I know exactly where it came from. I don't have an issue knowing that it's out of the floodplain stuff, and I understand what you're doing. The issue I have is the fact that it's done like a side deal, which is famous for.
That's how
And it's happened
people view
before.
it.
No, I know. I did tell that guy that
And it's happened,
if
what
he
I'm
could get
getting
it
at
done
though,
on Friday, that would be best, and then he showed up on Saturday.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that these side deals have been happening before.
Sure.
We closed down the bird pit, for an example, completely, shut it down because we had to do something. The mayor took it upon himself because he got a few phone calls to open it back up after the council closed it down.
And that is a very interesting discussion. If there is, I don't know the specifics. Sorry, Mark, just in the way again. Here, I'm sorry, you're good, you're good.
That better?
You're good. But once again, if there is a ordinance or a resolution that has been passed by the city, the mayor's obligated to follow it. And there's a lot of actions that could be taken if the mayor does not follow it. After the city resolution or ordinance, the mayor does have the authority to make sure things that are necessary and proper to keep, that he thinks in his judgment to keep the government running, he can make. But he cannot bypass or contradicts an ordinance and resolution that the city council makes. And once again, there is supposedly, in practice there's gray area, but in theory, there is the city council makes the 1,000-foot views, the rules on which the mayor has to abide by. And then the mayor, from those rules, will then implement those rules and then keep the city running with those rules. So if there's something that the mayor did that's counteracting an ordinance and resolution, there's consequences that can be taken. If there's not an ordinance or resolution in place, the mayor generally has the authority that he thinks to keep the city running. And then it's up to the city council sometimes to say, in hindsight, that's not the way we want it to be done. Enact a rule, enact an ordinance or resolution, say this is not going to happen again. And then the mayor would have to follow that. I don't know if that helps.
So if you don't want them putting bays down there so that area can be used, then we need to make a rule.
I understand that, and that wasn't my issue. That wasn't the issue that I was trying to address. What I was trying to address is the fact that you just take it upon yourself to make decisions that affect stuff like that without letting anybody know what's going on. And then we have to listen to the public complain because, oh, well, we can go dump cement down there. Because I also know that there was another conversation. I also know that there's somebody that overheard on the city phone a message being left there if they could dump their cement down there now.
That I don't know. That guy called me,
I haven't heard.
and I explained to him it had to be no rebar. I mean, I looked at the first load he took down there, and it was everything he said
I
it was.
understand what
so-
you guys are trying to do.
Yeah.
I would just like it to be upfront and honest so that we know what's going on.
Oh, with the opportunity that COP Construction's giving us, they're hauling a bunch of dirt down there. I mean, you know what happens when you do a project like this. I seen an opportunity to fill it in and have them put a dirt base on top versus me trying to come up with it from who knows where, you know. And plus they had to do something with that dirt anyway.
I get that.
And you think eventually
I mean, that's all I was
the
trying to
city
do,
is not
you know.
going to have a place to put equipment or anything like that. Because,
No one told me, I'm not crying about it.
you know, the 9 lots where we have put our current stuff, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
The city will not have that anymore because eventually the city's going to have to sell that. They will have to, but the town's going to grow. The town needs to grow. And we have lots there that we can sell.
And that south end of
And-
that lagoon is never gonna
And eventually, we'll need to move our equipment and everything down to another. We cannot have it down by the wells. We can't park our stuff down there.
We can't.
Can't put anything
Rock,
down.
sand.
So, that's all gone away.
Yep.
So.
And you're right.
We have to have an area, and that's just planning for the future of the town. Now, I don't know how you guys, I can't not make these decisions for the future of the town, because then things don't happen. We're stagnant, we're just standing still. And eventually, if we don't do something, we're never going anywhere. And I don't know. And then we'll be right back to where more buildings are falling down because nobody wants to be here.
Plus, I can get COP Construction to take that 966 loader and have them push that shit out. I don't have to mess with it.
Yeah.
So much easier.
Another thing is, with the floodplain down there, if you're in the 100-year floodplain, then you need a permit. If you're in the 500-year floodplain, you don't need a permit. And if you look at the maps, it shows half of that lagoon in the 100-year floodplain. And if we continue to stretch it out, we will need a permit just to say that this is what we're doing. Because I asked them, well, how do we get that removed? Because it's got 13-foot walls around it. It's never going to flood. It didn't flood with the 500-year flood. So. But anyway. So we covered the trailer house, we covered that. You guys have anything else? We're already a half hour into it. Anything? Nick? Okay. Sheriff's Department report.
Okay, I'm Deputy Ben LeBrun, Carbon County Sheriff's Office. And it looks like I have the stuff from July 13th until yesterday. So we have Fromberg patrol time, we have 85 hours and 17 minutes. Time on calls for service was 17 hours and 16 minutes. Total time in Fromberg, 102 hours and 33 minutes. And it looks like we had quite a few traffic stops, some alarms, some civil processes, one fireworks call. Kind of about it.
Now, with the fireworks call, are they recommending a nuisance?
I don't know. I was sent this right before the meeting and didn't know there was a meeting until about an hour before. So I wasn't part of that. I don't know what that call entails.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get with Jeff and we'll talk about it then.
Yeah.
Because there's other avenues.
Yeah.
There's nuisance, there's noise ordinances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it doesn't tell me on these sheets. It basically just gives the type of call, the call for service number, and the date. So,
yeah. However, we can put together. That'll be another topic for discussion. Maybe we ought to do that next meeting. You know, put on the so we can bring it up on the next agenda. An ordinance for fireworks.
May I make a recommendation on that? May I make a recommendation on that? You run long on these, everybody I've talked to from different meetings. You're best off if you do 20 minutes before your meeting and do discussion on an ordinance for fireworks, or 30 minutes, because you're going to fill this room.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Any questions for the Sheriff's Department? I want to thank these people. You have something? I would like to thank the Sheriff's Department for doing a very good job for us.
Yeah, y'all are good here, but
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it.
nice to see.
I didn't get arrested yet.
nice still young.
That's always positive.
That's good.
He still needs his hip boots, though.
Yeah.
Next up, we have special events application. Let's see what we got. We don't have anything?
We just got the event coming up this weekend.
Okay, if we don't have special events, okay. Old business. Personnel policy changes. What were we looking at on that?
That was done the last meeting. They were just recommendations that I had made, and I don't,
Well, Christian was gonna look into that, right?
she looked into it, and they, MMIA had a deal. I did not tell her to, I didn't ask her to call back and ask them from another view. So this was from last time. There was just 2 lines on each. We can take them individually, I don't care. There was just addition to making clear from what I had read in certain people's personnel policies. Two sentences are the first 2. Maternity leave shall be treated as the same as any other leave, except that eligibility for maternity leave shall not require employment for any specific period of time. And it is a law, but it is not in your policy. And the only reason I made the recommendation of that change is because then that way nobody can misconstrue it. The second one was an addition, employee personnel records, personal files kept confidential. Failure to do so will result in disciplinary action or termination. Most places have that policy. I've known before that, if you don't keep that, people need to be aware that there are those deals. The other one, and I had added 2 more to it, and they were concerned about if it would pose a problem with hiring. Well, and I don't know if she has the other part of this. I thought I had it. Anyway, one was children and visitors in the workplace. And most of these are done by county and state. That, yeah, you can have, basically what it says is, you're welcome to have children and visitors for a short time. They are not to be in there every day. They are not to be there for 3 and 4 hours. And children are, it's an emergency type deal. If they call you at school, you have to run up, pick up your kid. It isn't a full-time deal. Most places don't allow for that. And I had another deal, and I don't know if it got misplaced or something, that I had sent to was no dogs in the workplace. And the reason for that, other than you could have dogs that were seeing eye dogs. The problem is you have people that are allergic to dogs that come into the office. So now you've affected those people. And the other thing is, and I'm a firm believer in this, all dogs bite, given the right circumstances. They could be the most docile things in the world. But if you produce the right circumstances, you have produced a liability. But, that was the only personnel changes I recommended, so.
Well, I know Christian was gonna look into it, and
She
so
did.
MMIA, did she get?
She did, and
Listen till we talk with Kirsten.
what Kristen
That's what I'm
said
thinking, I think we
today,
should do that.
no, what Kristen said today, she had said at the last meeting when we had these, that MMIA said, well, if we put this policy in place and you're hiring people, it might affect who you're hiring.
It will.
But
It would limit the pool, is what she said.
it would
It
limit,
your
it could limit
application
the pool. But also, I'm like looking at the liability issues, and I'm more from the point of business on liability issues than I am the other point. The bank doesn't allow you these privileges. It is a professional setting. What she said today, though, we discussed the other deal on policy, and I can pull this up if that's okay, and I will read it aloud.
And it's something you got from Christian?
Yes, it came from, hold on here. It came from MMIA. And it had to do with policy. This was what Kristen had sent to all of us. I don't know if everybody had opened theirs up. So, if this comes up. She had sent off a question to MMIA, and he said, this is a challenging area for elected officials' roles and responsibilities. And it was about policy, and what happens when policy is not followed. The council is responsible for creating policies, and the mayor's duty is to implement and enforce the policies. 754101. I'm just going to shorten this and read the highlighted. The city or town council has the power to make and pass bylaws, ordinances, orders, resolutions necessary for government and management affairs of city and town. Then it goes on down to duties of the executive branch. Enforce laws, ordinances, and resolutions. Perform duties required by law, ordinance, and resolution. Administer affairs of local government. Carry out policies established by the commission.
That's just what Dennis just said.
Yep. The same thing on policies though. So when it says cars aren't used by employees, it means cars are not used by employees. You have to come to the council to get approval to change that.
Cars are not used?
Used for personal use by employees.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, we had an issue earlier this year.
Okay. I'll never use mine.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
I don't like driving these cars.
There was a.
Matter of fact, yeah.
We got a transmission problem in that pickup I was going to bring up at public works.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So anyway, that's what the.
So do you guys feel comfortable with voting, not having Christian here to do this, and everything that's covered with the personnel policy changes?
Well, I have a question. What would be a reason for children to come to a workplace, especially a construction job, on a machine, why would you bring a child there?
Well, and I don't think you would either, but here's the deal. If you allow it to one office and you don't allow your other employee the same benefit, you're stepping on a slippery slope in my book.
Well, I think it would depend on the job itself, how dangerous it is. You know, and why would kids come to the workplace anyway?
Am I wrong on that, looking at that, Denison?
Need to be narrowed down.
No, I mean, it definitely depends on the circumstances. For example, there is times that you could, in an emergency situation, you could allow a child to be in the office. And obviously, you would not allow, in any circumstances, a child to be with, the police force.
Yeah.
There's circumstances like that. But generally speaking, I'm sorry. But generally speaking, I mean, absolutely, the general rule is everybody is treated equal. The rules are in place. Everybody knows the rules. Everybody's treated equal. There has to be a very good reason on why two different individuals under a city ordinance or city policies are treated different.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this is coming up because, as you know, Harley had her baby and brought her baby to work. Because she had to nurse her baby, take care of the baby.
And once again, my position is not to tell anybody what should be or shouldn't be. That's obviously the job of the elected officials. My position is just tell people what